And we are. Take a look at some opening hands here. Looks like Shindell, our 4-color ramp player, will be on the play here. And a slower hand for Mora on Gruul Adventures.
Okay, I want to be perfectly clear because I was kind of thrown off by the terminology. It's Gruul Adventures in the way that it has Lovestruck Beast, Rimrock Knight, and Bone Crusher Giant, but it is not an adventure deck in the same way as the Lucky Clover decks. There is no Lucky Clovering going on. Instead, we are just Edgewall Innkeepering, and this is literally just a Gruul beatdown deck that plays 4 copies of Embercleave and just happens to play all these awesome adventure creatures, not only because they're just value town good, like Lovestruck Beast and Bone Crusher Giant, but also because it allows your Edgewall Innkeeper, one of the better 1-drops in the format, to just have more utility. And in this deck, it's just actually incredible.
It is interesting. Innkeeper is the only 1-drop in this Gruul deck. And that makes sense. It's not a ton of options. You also are working with the 2-color mana base.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how this can keep up on the draw against this Uro setup, though.
Well, interestingly enough, playing a lot of these dual-faced land spell cards like Kazandu Mammoth and Spikefield Hazard, while you don't have a bunch of physical dual lands to play, having spells that can be played as one or the other, like right now we have Spikefield Hazard and Kazandu Mammoth, so he doesn't actually have a second green for the Kazandu Mammoth right now. So next time he can just play it tapped, and then later on maybe play the Questing Beast untapped, right? And then just has all the colors that way.
That's actually a really wild thing, something I really like about this deck list. There's only 18 lands that are just lands.
Yeah.
A lot of that mana is shored up by these modal dual-face cards. You see one Kazandu Mammoth does come off that pathway.
Right, and the cards like Spikefield Hazard just have such diminishing returns in multiples, but they're so good when you draw them in the right spots. But the way that the modal DFCs work is that you're just going to have so many of these spells drawn in spots where they're bad, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just find the place to play them tapped as a land. And usually it's not very difficult to find the better spot to play it. Like next turn, Spikefield Hazard tapped, and then you can Rimrock Knight, or you can play Bone Crusher Giant face up, and then get your second red online for Embercleave like 2 turns from now,
Shindell's going to cast a Lotus Cobra, has the potential to go to Omnath from there.
And this is scary time.
This is when things get real.
Yeah, this is not going to be the big Omnath turn, but if Camillo doesn't answer the Omnath, there's a very high probability that next turn it's going to do some outrageous stuff.
There is Omnath, draws a card.
Whoa!
Really nice pickup. Primal Might off the top.
All right, so nice sequence here. Potential from Camillo. Spikefield Hazard tapped as a land to pump the Kazandu Mammoth. Primal Might for 1 mana to fight and kill the Omnath. And then use Bone Crusher Giant Stomp to kill the Lotus Cobra. What an absolutely absurd draw was Primal Might.
And everything you just described, we are seeing it happen, and this does it for me, man. I love this. Get that Omnath out of there, take its Cobra with it. Here's an 8-ball, you're at 12.
Yeah, that was just an outrageous sequence here. Primal Might looking like $1 million. Kazandu Mammoth looking great too. Just being a 3 mana, effectively 5/5 in the combat step, also makes Primal Might better. All the dual face cards doubling as lands or being spells. Like, imagine that the Bone Crusher Giant wasn't in hand, right? There was potential for like the Spikefield Hazard to kill the Lotus Cobra, and that alone could have been enough to just make Spikefield Hazard into a relevant answer. And instead, though, we just had it rolled up, and we're able to play our turn perfectly because because all of our cards are modal. That's so cool.
Seeing Escape to the Wilds from Shindell's got to do something to get back on the table here. Picked up a counter for the turn, went for the Escape over it. We see some lands coming off of the Escape. Failed our Retreat and Ugin hanging out over there, and Ugin is possible next turn.
Yeah, but Escape to the Wilds, I mean, you'll notice that like it's not nearly as powerful when you don't have Lotus Cobra or Omnath on the battlefield because you don't have that absurd mana generation yet. Now, it does let you play an extra land, which is a pretty big deal when you're ramping up to that Ugin. Because Ugin the Spear Dragon is usually pretty darn good against aggressive decks.
I'm going to point out something that's a big sad moment for Mora. You saw Shindell take care of that Rimrock Knight. Mm-hmm. An untapped land with that Embercleave would make the Mammoth lethal this turn, but Mora missed on that, so it has to come up with a different plan.
I don't like the Questing Beast here because land plus Ugin the Spear Dragon, which is face up, is just going to clear. And Questing Beast can actually just do damage to face and finish off the Ugin the Spear Dragon if it minuses. I would have loved to have seen a little bit of a spray with like Lovestruck Beast, double cast, and then let the Ugin the Spear Dragon come down, minus clear, and then Questing Beast goes face, and then also kills the Ugin the Spear Dragon, and you get to end the turn with a Questing Beast in play, as opposed to nothing against an Ugin the Spear Dragon.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Also, really not a deck that presents much in the way of reach. So, getting your opponent to 5, that's...
Exactly.
You got to set up your battlefield again.
Right. And that's another big thing why you need the haste creatures to be coming down after the Ugin, not before. If you play them before, you get a little extra damage, but it's not enough. There's no closing speed. There's no real way to get the Ugin off the battlefield. And it was face up, right? Like the Fabled Passage was there. Ugin the Spear Dragon was there. It's not like this is a surprise. This is just a missed sequence, I believe, from Camilla.
There is Ugin. Say goodbye to your creatures. Bone Crusher Giant off the top for Mora. That is 1 shy of killing the Ugin and 3 shy of killing Shindell.
So I think the sequence here for Camillo should be Lovestruck Beast, both modes. And then that maybe forces Shindell to minus the Ugin for 3 to direct clear. And if that's not what ends up happening, it's possible there's an out for Camillo to get the Embercleave online next turn with the Lovestruck Beast. But I think that we're just going to have a million different things happen this turn, but we'll just wait and see.
A lot of mana here. Ugin was cast last turn, so we're going to see Terror of the Peaks and some other action from Shindell.
I wonder if Euro... Yeah, Euro has Food to Escape, so it's going to be a gain 3 life. The Euro is going to combine with Terror of the Peaks to clobber this Lovestruck Beast. Ugin the Spear Dragon likely just going to tick up either on face or the 1/1, and I don't see Camillo able to get out of this one.
This is quite the combination, Terror of the Peaks in a row.
Yes.
A lot of damage from these two.
When I first saw Terror of the Peaks, I did not consider combining it with Uro, because I want Terror of the Peaks normally in a deck that's very aggressive. It's a nice top end, very similar to all the Stormbreath Dragon, 5-mana Dragon payoffs that we've had in the past. The difference is you need to be able to put creatures on the battlefield when Terror of the Peaks is already in play. And the easiest way to do that is with Genesis Ultimatum, just by a lot. Like, Genesis Ultimatum with Terror of the Peaks is incredible.
And that's going to seal it for Reed Shindell in game number 1 here. Yeah, definitely, I gotta say, when Terror of the Peaks was previewed, I categorized it mentally. Oh, this is the red Baneslayer Angel, this kind of untap and win sort of thing. And I didn't really give it much thought beyond that, because I didn't think the standard was largely about that card. But like you're saying, just the way it fits in with Genesis Ultimatum, the way it synergizes with Uro. Like, Baneslayer Angel never really synergized with anything. It's just a card with power and toughness, whereas Terror of the Peaks offers some really cool interactions.
Oh, for sure. I'm excited to see more Terror of the Peaks once Euro is gone. Like, if Genesis Ultimatum sticks around, there's a chance that, like, Genesis Ultimatum into Terror of the Peaks plus other creatures is just one of the better things you can do as a ramp strategy, especially if Omnath survives as well.
See, added the bumper there for Sullivan's Satchel, Patrick Sullivan's weekly column on StarCityGames.com. I had a question answered on the Satchel this week.
Oh, yeah? What was your question?
It was my privilege and honor. Let's see if I can recite it from memory. I believe my question was, Dear Patrick, what's up with Lotus Cobra?
And why did they reprint it? Or you just want to hear him rant about Lotus Cobra for 5 minutes?
I didn't want to guide I didn't want to. People submit questions that just really frame specificity that guides the answer that I really don't like. I wanted to kind of let him go off, maybe say something positive, something negative, give you kind of a wash, balance it on both sides or whatever. And he gave a very thoughtful answer to my generally thoughtless question, as he is wont to do, and it's a really, really cool column. So send your questions his way, mailbag@StarCityGames.com, and even if your question sucks like mine, he'll give you a good answer.
And that's what we call a teaser, ladies and gentlemen. Check out Sullivan Satchel every week on StarCityGames.com unless he takes a week off. That's what I always say. When everyone's like, hey, what's your stream schedule? I'm like, I stream every day at noon on Pacific, unless I take off.
I'm streaming every time that I'm not streaming.
Exactly. And then I never have to give a real answer, you know? Great.
Love it. Scavenging Ooze showing up on turn 2 from Mora here, ready to give some beatdowns, or rather, ready to get stomped.
Yeah, this stomp here looking pretty juicy against Scavenging Ooze. Scavenging Ooze is one of the better cards against Uro in general, but no food in the yard means that it's just gonna taste the brunt side of a stomp. Nice leather taste on the finish, you know.
Ooze down. Let's scry with the Temple of Abandon. Do you want to
foot guy, Ryan?
No. Am I what?
There you.
Oh, jeez. All right. Now that I think I heard your question, I'm going to ask you not to repeat it.
Yeah.
We'll go back to Shindell, and here comes Bone Crusher Giant.
Dude, I'm having a great time today. I'm keeping it light.
A lot of good magic.
Yeah, look, there's no green mana on the side of things for Shindell just yet. I want to make that perfectly clear. We got one more piece of removal. That new Lava Coil proxy is pretty cool, and I'm excited to see more of it because it does deal with this questing beast. But outside of that, there's I think that's a Temur Triome just drawn. But before that, there was no green mana around, so we'll see how the rest of the game plays out.
Thundering Rebuke kills your questing beast after the Bone Crusher Giant holds it off. Bone Crusher Giant actually hangs back. The beatdowns are not Shindell's plan.
Yeah. Here, we actually have kind of an interesting sequence. We can go Stomp plus Spikefield Hazard to kill the Bone Crusher, or we could go Bone Crusher Hardcast, Primal Might for X equals 1. Oh, wait, no, that's not quite enough. Never mind.
Nah, he's got the cleave. What's the rush? Yeah.
Well, the problem might need to be 2 to be able to effectively kill the Bone Crusher Giant. I wasn't trying to trade. I was trying to eat.
Sure.
We were 1 mana short of being able to do that. So I like getting the creature down. I like threatening the Ember Cleave at all times, basically.
Oh, yeah. If you don't believe in the cleave, really, what can you believe in? Nothing. There's nothing.
I mean, I tend to believe in the cleave, but for those who are... not as
devout.
Yes, devout. Actually, that's the perfect word. I couldn't think of it. Nice job on that one. Yes, I am not. Others are more devout than I.
Well, faith in the cleave might be wavering as Lotus Cobra and Omnath show up.
Yeah, I mean, this is not enough damage. Not even close to enough damage with the Ember Cleave. So Hazard plus Primal Might though can clear Cobra and Omnath. So we might see like Spikefield Hazard kill the Cobra, attack for 4 after a Primal Might for 3 to kill the Omnath, and then that could still trade Bone Crusher Giant, so maybe no attacks even.
Yeah, the actual full fight makes that kind of awkward. I think we gotta get some of these creatures off the table. Mora agrees. Gotta take 2 damage to target your own Bone Crusher Giant. You hate to see it, but we saw Shindell hang back on a Bone Crusher. This game is not about those small interactions.
Right.
But it is about getting Omnath and Lotus Cobra off the table. Bad news for Mora, though. There's a bit more where that came from in Shindell's
There's a bit Mora where that came from. Shindell about to kneecap this Bone Crusher Giant because of Shin. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's a leg thing.
Right. At least not another foot thing.
It's
Look,
true.
man, even you see Beanstalk Giant's got little toesies too, you know? Like
Beanstalk Giant's got big toesies.
like I'm not, I'm not drawing these cards. This is not my artwork, okay? I am not the foot person here.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Anybody who has ever drawn a foot is responsible for your behavior.
I pass all blame on whoever drew Beanstalk Giant.
Beanstalk Giant's going to use those big toesies for some fertile footsteps, and we see Uro.
Dude, more toesies, dude.
And both triomes put on for the lands. That pathway sandbagged by Shindell. Here comes the Bone Crusher Giant. It's time for the cleave. Do you believe, Todd?
I believe that it's happening. I don't know that it's good enough yet. And it could be good enough over 2 turns. We'll just have to see what happens with Shindell's turn, because Omnath, Euro in the graveyard, maybe a big a Beanstalk Giant coming down. It's unclear just yet what's going to happen.
Do you want a black?
Never.
Ken?
I mean, maybe.
I agree with, in terms of personal philosophy, I never want to block. But sometimes the game mandates it.
The fact that Camillo did not offer the trade last turn and then offered the trade this turn means that you should probably not take the trade, is my general consensus.
I feel that. 10 points comes across. Shindell to 11. Another Omnath off the top, but it's Beanstalk Giant time. That thing can soak up some cleave damage. And some pause here from Shindell. You can play the land, make your Beanstalk Giant a 9/9, or you can save it to get up to some shenanigans with these Omnaths.
I like saving it to get up to the Omnath shenanigans, especially with Euro in the graveyard.
See Fabled Passage go off. I think Mora's looking for like a Primal Might. This ain't it though.
No, Primal Might would have been a juicer, a heater, whatever, use whatever nomenclature you like. It would have been a nice one.
Lovestruck Beast though, Heart's Desire. If it really fulfilled the Heart's Desire, it would be putting a Primal Might in Mora's hand. Lovestruck Beast is just going to draw a Fabled Passage off of Edgewall Keeper, though.
You see, it's a reference, to Beauty and the Beast, Heart's Desire, Yeah,
that's the thing about the Beast is that's why the Beast got locked in that castle and was so miserable, is the Beast didn't dream big enough.
Right.
That's the moral of the story.
Here's the question. Do you double block to prevent the trample damage? I think you do. You don't lose anything from it. There we go.
It's free real estate.
Yeah. And of course, gonna get the Beanstalk Giant killed instead of the Bone Crusher Giant. 1 short.
The Bone Crusher Giant will stick around. Cleave's about to be attached to this Lovestruck Beast, though, so the problems are not all solved. But there is the matter of the Omnaths in Shindell's hand. Elder Gargaroth off the top. Not a bad one, but I imagine we'll be starting with Omnath.
Yeah, without some help, Mora can't actually win next turn just because of toughness, blocking, a little bit of life gain from the Omnath, I'm very curious to see if a peeled top deck from Mora can close. Because Elder Gargaroth, untapping with Omnath, these are all things that can't happen.
Second Ember Cleave is not exactly what the doctor ordered.
You ever seen Naked Gun?
Probably.
There's an iconic scene where someone does some really boneheaded move, and the entirety of the cast, they do a shot for shot for where every person that's a major character in the movie, they cut to each of them and they just smack their forehead. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it.
I know the GIF that is pretty commonly used.
I don't know if you heard a smack when the Ember Cleave was drawn, but that's what it was. It was me smacking my head like Naked Gun. 33 and third.
All right, the beast wants to get aggressive. It is met by a triple block. So Mora at least gets to clean up some of this battlefield. Elder Gargaroth will trigger on blocks to make a 3/3 beast before getting it devoured. Omnath to go with it. Embercleave equip, love it.
Yeah, but no real large creature here, and Embercleave looking pretty lackluster. The second one in hand, even worse. And I believe there's enough food for Uro now, so we could go Omnath into Uro, maybe hit a fetch land and go bananas, but otherwise can still just gain 4 life if a land is drawn. Oh, man.
Pathway off the Omnath.
Here it comes. We need another land, but then we get to do some really cool stuff with Omnath.
Get your googly eyes ready. Here comes Uro.
Tie sequencing here actually from Shindell. If you play the pathway first, a drawn DFC card cannot be put into play off the Uro. So holding the pathway there, very smart. Not relevant because it was a regular land drawn, but important to sequence correctly so you don't accidentally throw the game because of it, you know?
Definitely. Would hate to lose to that sort of thing. Omnath's going to make some mana. Stomp on the Innkeeper. Lovestruck Beast, rather Heart's Desire. Now comes the Beast.
So one thing you'll notice is the Lovestruck Beasts here, they're not really a part of the main deck configuration too often. But after sideboard against these decks that have their own Lovestruck Beasts, and generally just decks that have a bunch of like 3 and 4 power creatures, a 3-mana 5/5 as a blocker is incredible. Like, it's just very good.
The third Embercleave off the top, not incredible, not very good. Shindell, going to be our 2-1 winner over Camilo Mora. The ramp deck. Drawing 3 Omnath. Not bad. Actually, kind of good in some spots.
Yeah, when you draw 3 Omnath, it's fine. Like we saw there, it was fine. Yeah,